So let me sum up. Three broad patterns have contributed to this skewed American position on Palestine. Firstly, there was no real pressure on the United States to act equitably from the Arab countries, particularly the oil-rich Arab Gulf monarchies. There was no pressure, moreover, little or no pressure in favor of the Palestinians inside the United States. And this is our responsibility and to some extent our fault as citizens. We should be working much harder to put pressure on our government about this. So that's the first reason. Secondly, where Palestine is concerned, policymakers from Truman to Obama have deferred excessively to the concerns ably and forcefully articulated by the Israel lobby. The Israel lobby's power is inflated, it's exaggerated, and American politicians have kowtowed to it. Finally, thirdly, in spite of occasional sympathetic noises from American leaders like President Carter or Secretary of State Baker or President Obama, at the end of the day, American policy did absolutely nothing substantial to advance the inalienable national or human rights of the Palestinians. It has not, American policy has not in any way, as far as I can see, ameliorated the situation of the Palestinians. Whatever they say they want, that is not what they are doing. Long-standing American policy on Palestine, therefore, has not served the long-term U.S. national interest, which would be greatly advanced by a just and lasting resolution of this conflict. It's taken a great deal of what George Orwell called corrupt language to conceal this ugly reality. Now, how does this, I've been looking backwards, I've been talking about the history of this up to the present. What does this tell us about the chances of Secretary Kerry succeeding? I'm a historian, I'm very wary of making predictions. But I would argue very simply that it's impossible to build anything lasting on such a rotten foundation of lies, dishonest language, bias, and bad faith. Unkept commitments. There are many of them I talk about in the book, not just the letter of assurances in 1991. The weak and disunited Palestinians, this is a Palestinian problem that the Palestinians have to solve, but the weak and disunited Palestinians are negotiating with the powerful nation-state of Israel from a position of gaping inequality. The ostensible mediator overtly favors the stronger party, and the Oslo Accords and other accords that form the basis for this process are entirely based on Israeli blueprints that go back to 1978 and that were explicitly intended to prevent a two-state outcome. This is not a blueprint for a Palestinian state. This is a blueprint for what Begin talked about in what was described by that memo from 1982. Whatever transpires, and it looks from today's papers that the whole thing may be collapsing around Secretary Kerry's ears, but whatever transpires, these conditions would seem to me to guarantee that whatever the outcome of the efforts that Secretary Kerry is engaged in may be, that outcome will not be a just and lasting peace. Such a peace would be one in which the Palestinian people, all of them, not just the ones in the occupied territory, the majority of Palestinians who do not live in historic Palestine, who are the descendants of refugees who live either in the Arab world or in Dearborn or in Patterson, New Jersey or in Chile or somewhere else on this wide world. It would be a peace in which the entire Palestinian people are able to end their nearly century-long odyssey, and both the Palestinians and the Israelis are able to live in justice and security, whether it's in one state, whether it's in two states, whether it's in several states, whether it's in cantons, whether it's in some sort of regional confederation. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that this be based on principles of justice and security. If the history I've summarized tonight, the history that I try and recount in The Brokers of Deceit, tells us anything, it's that this peace process, which this country has been engaged in since the 70s, cannot produce such a just and lasting outcome. It can only do what it was designed to do by a man named Menachem Begin, which is to provide an extension into the indefinite future of the entirely unsatisfactory, unsustainable, and unjust status quo. Thank you very much. How much time do we have?